Hey there crew, it's Mark from Mark Your Pages from the Archer and Olive Ambassador team, and in today's video I'm going to share with you ways to use fountain pen ink inside of your journals without using a fountain pen. Materials for today, we're going to need some type of ink, so I have these from one of the last subscription boxes, but you can use any type of ink that you would like. We're also going to need a brush. This could be a flat or a rounded brush, whatever you have at home. And then we're also going to be using a water brush. These are used often for watercolor. We're going to be using them with our inks today as well. And the last thing that you're going to need is a pad, paper, or your notebook to put everything inside of. The first technique that we're going to use with our inks is just going to be dipping the brush directly into the ink and then using that ink on top of the paper. I do have water off to the side here to rinse off my brush. Treat this like you would any type of watercolor, for instance. It's a really great way to get that bright, beautiful color from fountain pens right onto your paper. If your fountain pen ink has shimmers inside of it, you'll also capture those as well. What I love about this technique is that depending on your brush, whether it's flat or rounded, you'll get different looking letters as you're writing with it. The second technique that we're going to use today is actually using your inks like watercolor. I have a palette over here to the side, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some ink out of the bottle right with my brush and put it onto this palette here. Then off to the side I do have some clean water, and I'm going to take a little bit of that and I'm going to put that onto my palette. Think about mixing. The more water with the ink is going to make the color a lot lighter. So you might want to mix some darker on one side, add extra water to the other. That way you have different values of the color to play with on top of your paper or inside of your planner. As you can see here, this is going to look a lot lighter because we're using it with that water and kind of watering it down a little bit. One of the things I love the most about this technique is mixing different colors together with that water, and then they naturally blend together when they're close to each other, and I just love the way that this looks. And as you can see, this isn't bleeding through the pages at all. The next technique that we're going to use is using a water brush. These are super inexpensive things that you can purchase, a dime a dozen really, and usually they're used with watercolors. That way you're not dipping a brush in and out, you can just kind of keep going with it. In this case, what we're going to do is fill our water brush with water, and then we're going to put ink straight from the bottle into the brush itself. We'll go ahead and shake it up a little bit, and then we can go ahead and write straight with it. So it's just a much more convenient way of getting that watercolor look with ink without having to constantly dip your brush back and forth. Similar to what we did before, I love being able to easily mix colors together. In this case, I can add a little bit of that green if I want to and not have to rinse out my brush because it'll go right back to that blue color. Now that we've gone ahead and tried and found a few different ways, let's go ahead and put these techniques into practice. I'm going to set up a real quick weekly overview inside of my bullet journal here. And over top of each of the verticals, I'm going to go ahead and mix some colors together using my brush. In this case, I'm using more of that watercolor technique, grabbing lighter colors, mixing them together, and then adding different variances of that, starting with the green, adding the blue, and mixing from there. Once I have that done, I can go ahead with my brush pen and put each of the days of the week. Now I have a beautiful looking overview of my entire week inside of my bullet journal, all using inks without having to worry about a fountain pen. If you're looking for some different ideas on fonts that you can use with these different techniques, I'll go ahead and put a freebie for you over on the blog at archerandolive.com for you to practice and try new fonts inside of your bullet journal or your planners.